In this movie we will discuss a companion to the variable, which is known as a constant. Oftentimes variables and constants are confused because they are created in much the same manner, but their function and purpose are very different. Like a variable, constants do store data while an application is executing. A constant will have a name. It will be a name that you, the programmer, will create for that constant. Constants must be named so as to be clear as to their function and purpose. And also, like variables, a constant has a specific data type. Why are constants needed in the programming process? Well, let's take the example of 40 hours worked by an employee multiplied by their pay rate of, say, $10, which will result in the answer of $400 for their gross pay. The problem with that is that not all workers work exactly 40 hours, some less, some more, and not all are paid at the same rate of pay. But more importantly, what happens when the employee receives a raise to, say, $11 per hour? Do we now go back into the code and find every place in the program where we coded $10 for the pay rate for a particular employee? Do we change that down to $11 per hour? And what happens 6 months or a year later when they get another raise? Do we constantly change that pay rate multiple times in the program? No, we don't want to do that. We want to create a situation where we can perform what's called program maintenance relatively easily. And this is where constants come into play. Constants allow the programmer to create a name for the pay rate. This name is what's used rather than the actual pay rate. The programmer uses that named constant in the code directly. This will allow for changes and other program maintenance issues to take place much more easily as circumstances change. By using constants in a program, in the long run you're making the program much easier to change and much easier to maintain over the life of the program. Rather than using very specific data that will ultimately change, we're creating constants which simply gives a name to a value which can ultimately be changed relatively easily over the course of time. Just like variables, constants can have different data types. By having different data types, this limits the kind of data, whether it be numeric or alphabetic, that can be used within these statements. Again, like variables, a constant can be available at different times. This is referred to as scope and lifetime of a constant. And finally, constants, just like variables, are essential to creating real-world applications. Without these techniques, you simply are not able to create a program which is ready and available to adapt to the constant changes that are ultimately going to happen with any applications that are created in today's world.